As you know, we attacked Kog Island and knocked it literally, destroyed everything on the island except for the area where the oil is. I call it the pipes. We left the pipes. We didn't want to do that, but that we will do that. We can do that on 5 minutes notice. It'll be over. But for purposes of someday rebuilding that country, I guess we did the right thing. But it may not stay that way. Just one simple word and the pipes will be gone too, but it'll take a long time to rebuild that. We are aggressively dismantling Iran's defense industrial base, and ability to rebuild its missiles and drone capability is getting down to close to zero. And we're hammering their capacity to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz with more than 30 mine-laying ships destroyed. We hit, to the best of our knowledge, all of their mine-laying ships. Now they can put them on other types of ships, I guess, and drop them in. But we don't know that any have even been dropped in. We're not sure that any have been. That's a big negative for them if they do it. It's a form of suicide. But we don't know that they have dropped any in. But we've hit all 30 of their ships and destroyed them. They're all.
You know what Trump just did? He sat there and casually described destroying an entire island like he was talking about renovating a bathroom. We knocked it. Literally destroyed everything on the island. That's not normal language from a president. That's action movie dialogue. Here's the context. He's talking about Kog Island, a strategic Iranian military base, and he's claiming they wiped it out. But here's what I noticed. He said, "We left the pipes. We didn't want to do that, but we did it for someday rebuilding that country." Wait, what? He's already talking about rebuilding Iran while the war is still going on? That tells me one thing. They're thinking about what comes next. They're not just bombing randomly. They're leaving the oil infrastructure intact because, let's be honest, somebody's going to want that oil later. And then he drops this line. One simple word and the pipes will be gone too. That's not a military update. That's a threat. He's telling Iran, behave or we take your economy with you. My take? This is Trump being Trump. He's mixing wartime reporting with real estate developer logic. We destroyed it, but we kept the valuable part. That's how you negotiate a deal while dropping bombs. Here's my question to you. Is leaving the oil infrastructure smart strategy, or is it sending mixed messages? Drop your thoughts below.
At the bottom of the sea. We strongly encourage other nations whose economies depend on the Strait far more than ours. You know, we get less than 1% of our oil from the Strait, and some countries get much more. Japan gets 95%, China gets 90%. Many of the Europeans get quite a bit. South Korea gets 35%. So we want them to come and help us with the Strait. We have it in very good shape. The countries, I said, we've already taken care of Iran, but now, because of the fact that literally a single terrorist can put something in the water or shoot something or shoot a missile, a small missile, and it's fairly close range because it is a tight area, and which is one of the reasons they've always used that as a weapon. Iran has always used that as an economic weapon, and it's not going to be able to be used very long. Numerous countries have told me they're on the way. Some are very enthusiastic about it, and some aren't. Some are countries that we've helped for many, many years. We've protected them from horrible outside sources, and they weren't that enthusiastic. And the level of enthusiasm matters to me. We have some countries where we have 45,000 soldiers, great soldiers, protecting them from harm's way. And we have...
Stop right here. This might be the most revealing part of the whole press conference. Trump just threw America's allies under the bus, publicly, on camera, for everyone to see. He says, "We asked countries we've protected for 40 years if they have any minesweepers. They said, we'd rather not get involved, sir." Let me name these countries because he did. Japan gets 95% of its oil from the Strait of Hormuz. China gets 90%. South Korea gets 35%. These are not small players. These are economic giants. And when America asks for help keeping their oil flowing safely, they say, no thanks. Now here's the kicker. Trump says, the level of enthusiasm matters to me. That's not diplomatic language. That's personal. He's keeping a list. He remembers who showed up and who didn't. And then he goes further. For 40 years, we're protecting you and you don't want to get involved? He's not just angry. He's making a case. He's building an argument for why America should stop being the world's policeman. My opinion? He's right to be frustrated, but publicly shaming allies? That's not how you build coalitions. That's how you create enemies. So here's what I want to know. Should America keep protecting countries that won't help us in return? Tell me in the comments.
Which I predicted a long time ago. I predicted all of this stuff. You guys were very generous in that. I predicted all of it. I predicted Osama bin Laden would knock out the World Trade Center. I made that prediction a year before he did. I said, you better get him. He's a bad guy. I watched him be interviewed one time, and I said, that's a bad guy. You better get him. 1 year before, exactly. I wrote it in a book. You can even check about a year before the World Trade Center then.
Okay, we have to stop here because what did he just say? Trump just claimed he predicted Osama bin Laden would knock down the World Trade Center 1 year before it happened, and he wrote it in a book. Let me be real with you. This is going to get fact-checked into oblivion. And spoiler alert, it's not true. There's no record of Trump warning about bin Laden before 9/11. None. But here's the thing. Why is he saying this now? Why bring up 9/11 in the middle of a press conference about Iran and the Kennedy Center? This is classic Trump. He's building a narrative that he sees things others don't, that he's prophetic, that he warned everyone and nobody listened. It's the same pattern. I told you so. Whether it's about bin Laden or the Strait of Hormuz or anything else, he wants you to believe he's always been right. Here's my analysis. This isn't about 9/11. This is about trust. He's saying, trust me on Iran because I was right about everything else. It's a sales pitch wrapped in a history lesson. But here's the problem. When you stretch the truth to make yourself look good, people start questioning everything you say. So I'll ask you, does stuff like this make you trust him more or less? Let me know.
The relationship with Venezuela has been fantastic. Millions, literally millions of barrels of oil are being taken out, and it's been a great help, and it's been to their great benefit. The president has done a really good job. We get along with him really well. But we've taken out millions of barrels of oil and brought to Houston and other places for to the refineries. We have refineries set up specifically for that, and it's been a great relationship, and more and more is happening. It's a tremendous oil source.
Now this is interesting. Right after talking about destroying Iran, Trump starts praising Venezuela. The relationship with Venezuela has been fantastic. The president has done a really good job. We get along with them really well. Wait a second. Aren't we supposed to be against dictators? Isn't Venezuela's government controversial? Yes. But here's the reality. Oil doesn't care about politics. Trump admits it openly. Millions of barrels of oil are being taken out and brought to Houston. We have refineries set up specifically for that. Translation, we need their oil, so we're going to be friends. This is foreign policy stripped of all the moral language. It's transactional. If you have something we need, we'll get along. If you threaten our interests, we'll bomb you. Iran, bombs, Venezuela, deals. My take? At least he's being honest. Most politicians pretend there's some grand strategy or moral principle. Trump just says, they have oil. We want oil. Let's make a deal. But here's the uncomfortable question. Should America be buddy-buddy with a controversial regime just for oil? Or is this just smart business? I'm reading comments, so tell me what you think.
We had some things, and but we're looking very strong. We had one man who was very ill. It looked like he wasn't going to make it. I don't know. I won't mention his name. Should I? Do other people know his name? If you want to mention it, he'll be proud. Go ahead. Tell him this, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. President. Congressman Neil Dunn of Florida had some real health challenges, and it was very serious, and had a pretty grim diagnosis. And I mentioned it to the president, and I said, Congressman Dunn is a real champion and a patriot because he's still coming to work. And if others got this diagnosis, they would be apt to go home and retire. And
what was the diagnosis?
It was, I think it was a terminal diagnosis.
He would be dead by June.
Okay, that wasn't public, but yeah, okay, that's it was grim. That's what I was going to say. I don't think
with a heart problem, by the way. This was a heart problem.
So, long story short, the president called him to encourage him and thank him, and they had a conversation. And the president mentioned in the course of the conversation, you know how to get my doctors involved, and they did. And within a number of hours, they took him to Walter Reed Emergency Surgery, the man has a new lease on life. He acts like he's 30 years younger, and he walked into the conference meeting, and we thought we'd seen a ghost. And I spoke with him over the weekend, and he's encouraged and thankful, and he thanks the president for his leadership and intervention. And thank you.
He actually called Mike. Mike called me, and he said, "Sir, we're up by 3, but we're going to lose 1 by June." I said, "Who?" "Neil Dunn." He's a congressman, great congressman, incredible. He called to say that he was terminal, really bad heart. There's nothing they can do. I said, "That's bad." Number 1, it was bad because I liked him. Number 2, it was bad because I needed his vote. But he really said, "Mike, I'm going to last this out for the president and you, and however long I live," I mean, it looks like June is the time, but however long I live, I'm going to be voting for you. I mean, how many people are going to say that? Most of them are going to say, "Mike, I'm retiring immediately." That's the end.
He's an extraordinary
But
man.
he didn't do that. It was really impressive. And then I realized I have doctors in the White House. The White House doctors are incredible. And they've helped me with other people. They're helping me with people right now. People that are very sick are like they're miracle workers. And I said, I have to call them. And I called the 2 doctors. They're both great. And they immediately went over to see the congressman. And he was on the operating table like 2 hours later.
Yeah.
And it was a long operation. They gave him more stents and more everything that you could have. I think he's got everything that you could possibly.
Okay, this one actually got me. Trump just told a story about Congressman Neil Dunn, who was given a terminal diagnosis. Doctors said he'd be dead by June. And Dunn's response? "I'm going to last this out for the president. I'm going to keep voting." Think about that. A man facing death decides to keep working. Not for his family, not for his country, but for Trump. That's loyalty on another level. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Trump found out, called his White House doctors, and within hours, Dunn was in emergency surgery. And apparently it worked. The guy's alive, healthy, and walking around like nothing happened. Now Trump jokes about it. He says, "I did it for him first, and for the vote second, but it was a close second." That's dark humor, but it's also honest. He knows politics. He knows every vote counts. And saving a congressman's life also saves a vote. My analysis? This is the human side of Trump that his supporters love. He picked up the phone. He made it happen. A man is alive today because of it. But it's also a reminder of how personal politics is at this level. Loyalty isn't just about ideas, it's about relationships. Here's my question. Does this story change how you see him? Or is it just politics with a human face?
They won't be there. I was very surprised with the United Kingdom, because the United Kingdom, 2 weeks ago, I said, "Why don't you send some ships over?" And he really didn't want to do it. I said, "You don't want to do it. We've been with you. You're our oldest ally. And we spend a lot of money on, NATO and all of these things to protect you. I mean, we're protecting them. We're working with them on Ukraine. Ukraine's thousands of miles away, separated by a vast ocean. We don't have to do that, but we did it. Well, Biden did it. I mean, I have to be honest with you. Biden got taken to the cleaners. But we worked with them in Ukraine. We don't need to work with them in Ukraine. And then they tell us that we have a mine chip around, and they don't want to do it. I think it's terrible. No, I was very surprised. I told him, we requested 2 aircraft carriers, which they had, and he didn't really want to do it. And then right after the war essentially ended, meaning they were obliterated, he said, "I would like to send the aircraft carriers." I said, "I don't need them after the war has ended and won. I need it before the war." So I was very not upset. I was not happy with the UK. I think they'll be involved, yeah, maybe. But they should be involved enthusiastically.
All right, this is a big deal. Trump just publicly humiliated the United Kingdom, our closest ally, on camera. He says, "I was very surprised with the United Kingdom. We requested 2 aircraft carriers. He really didn't want to do it. Then right after the war essentially ended, he said, I would like to send them. I don't need them after the war has ended. I need it before. I was not happy." Let that sink in. America asked Britain for help. Britain said no. Then after America did all the work, Britain offered to show up. Too little, too late. Now, Trump being Trump, he didn't keep this in diplomatic channels. He announced it to the world. He's sending a message. If you're going to be our ally, act like it. Show up when it matters. Otherwise, don't bother. Here's my take. This is going to cause problems. Allies don't like being embarrassed in public. But Trump doesn't care about diplomatic niceties. He cares about what he sees as fairness. We protect them. Why don't they protect us? And then he drops this line. NATO is us, meaning NATO without America is nothing. That's going to rattle some cages in Europe. So here's the question. Is Trump right to call out allies who won't help? Or is this damaging relationships we'll need later?
And now they're using disinformation plus AI. And that's a terrible situation. That's a terrible situation. They showed all sorts of things happening in the last 2 weeks that never happened. Between their kamikaze boats that don't exist, between blowing up the aircraft carrier, one of the great ships in the world, the Abraham Lincoln, on fire. They showed it on fire. I called the general. I said, General, what's with the Abraham Lincoln? It looks like it's burning down. No, it's not burning down. Not a bullet was ever fired at it, sir. They know better. They said, this is my first glimpse of AI and what they've done with it. They showed buildings in Tel Aviv burning to the ground, high-rises burning. They showed buildings in Qatar. They showed buildings in Saudi Arabia burning, and they weren't burning. They weren't hit. It was all AI-based. Terrible. It's terrible. And I think that's the only thing they...
Now, this is fascinating. Trump just described a new kind of warfare that most people don't even think about. He says Iran is using AI to create fake videos. They showed the USS Abraham Lincoln on fire. It wasn't on fire. They showed buildings in Tel Aviv burning. They weren't burning. It was all AI generated. And here's the scary part. Trump says, I called the general. He said, not a bullet was ever fired at it, sir. Think about that. The President of the United States saw a video of an American aircraft carrier on fire and had to call to check if it was real. That's where we are now. Anyone with AI can create propaganda that looks real enough to reach the White House. My analysis? This is the future of warfare. Not just bombs and bullets, but information. If Iran can make people believe their military is winning, it doesn't matter what's actually happening on the ground. Perception becomes reality. Trump called it terrible. And he's right. Because how do you fight something you can't see? How do you counter lies that look like truth? Here's what I want to know. Are we ready for AI propaganda wars? Or are we already losing and don't know it?
All of their leaders are dead, as far as we know. But they're all dead. We don't know who we're dealing with. We knocked out the first group. Then the second group met, 88 met to pick the leader because the first group was all dead. And the second group got knocked out. They're all dead. Then the third group met. I would think they're a little nervous about meeting. I don't know if they're nervous. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're crazy. They're not nervous and they're crazy. But we met with the next group, but we don't know who their leader is. We have people wanting to negotiate. We have no idea who they are. Yeah.
Stop. Did you catch this? Trump just said something absolutely wild. All of their leaders are dead as far as we know. The first group met, all dead. The second group met, all dead. A third group met. I would think they're a little nervous about meeting. We have people wanting to negotiate. We have no idea who they are. Let me translate. Trump is claiming America has killed Iran's leadership so many times that they've run out of leaders. 3 different groups, all dead. Now, is this literally true? Probably not. But here's what it tells us. The strikes against Iran have been devastating. They've targeted leadership repeatedly. And now there's chaos. Nobody knows who's in charge. Nobody wants to be the next meeting. And here's the problem he's pointing out. How do you negotiate with a country when you don't know who's in charge? Who do you call? Who has the authority to make a deal? My take? This is either a massive intelligence success or a massive intelligence failure. If we've killed all their leaders, that's a win. But if we don't know who's left, that's dangerous. Wars don't end when everyone's dead. They end when someone surrenders. So I'll ask you, can you negotiate with a headless enemy? Or does this just mean more war?
Please, Peter.
Thanks, President Trump. What are your advisors telling you about the Ayatollah's son, the new supreme leader? What are they telling you about
Well, it's
him?
not only them, it's you people. I mean, a lot of people are saying that he's badly disfigured. They're saying that he lost his leg, one leg, and he's been hurt very badly. Other people are saying he's dead. Nobody's saying he's 100% healthy. And he hasn't spoken because the Ayatollah would sit and he'd spew hate from a form of a throne. Not as nice as a throne. I like the English throne much better. But it was a fancy chair. But he'd spew hate from his chair. But you see them a lot, right? This one we haven't seen at all. So that could be for a lot of different reasons. We don't know, Peter, if he's dead or not.
Now that you've announced...
I will say this, nobody's seen him, which is unusual.
Something else. Now that you've announced...
Here we go. Trump is now speculating about the health of Iran's new potential leader based on rumors. A lot of people are saying he's badly disfigured. They're saying he lost his leg. Other people are saying he's dead. Nobody's saying he's 100% healthy. Nobody's seen him, which is unusual. This is wild. The President of the United States is getting intelligence from a lot of people and sharing it with the world. Is this credible? We don't know. But here's what it tells us. There's an information blackout in Iran. Their new leader hasn't been seen. That's suspicious. Now think about the implications. If the leader is dead or badly injured, that creates a power vacuum. And power vacuums lead to more chaos, more factions fighting each other, more uncertainty. But here's the darker possibility. What if he's alive and planning? What if the silence is strategy? My opinion, we're flying blind here. Trump is admitting he doesn't know. And in a war, not knowing who you're fighting is terrifying. So here's my question. Does this sound like a country that's about to surrender or a country that's regrouping?
So the women had 250,000, even 500 people protesting a year ago. And they shot women right through the middle of the forehead with snipers. And they didn't have to do many. About 10 went down bleeding profusely. And 250 to 500,000 women went running in the other direction. Because they can be brave, but they're not stupid. And they have no gun. And you have snipers in buildings specifically for this reason. So a woman goes down falling, bleeding from the head, and it doesn't take long for that to spread. And when that spreads, that crowd dispenses. And nobody else has been able to do that to the extent that these people are violent. They killed a minimum 2 weeks ago, 32,000 people. So, and they put out actually a notice 2 days ago.
Now this part is hard to hear, but it's important. Trump just described how the Iranian regime treats its own people. The women had 500,000 people protesting. They shot women right through the middle of the forehead with snipers. About 10 went down bleeding profusely, and 500,000 women went running in the other direction. Let that image sit with you for a second. Women protesting peacefully, demanding their rights, and the government puts snipers on rooftops to shoot them in the head, not to wound, to kill, to send a message. Trump says they can be brave, but they're not stupid. They have no gun. That's the reality of dictatorship. You can't fight bullets with courage. You just die. And here's the thing. This is the government America is at war with. This is who we're bombing. The same people who shoot unarmed women for protesting. My analysis? This is the part of the story that gets lost in all the military talk. Yes, we're at war. Yes, there are strategic interests. But the regime we're fighting, they're brutal. They kill their own people without hesitation. So I'll end with this. Does knowing this change how you see the war, or is it just more reason to finish what we started? Drop your thoughts below. I really want to hear from you on this one.